Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Deidre and today what I want to talk about is what I learned in my 20s. So I just turned 30 about 2 weeks ago. Yay for me. And with turning 30 it's brought upon a lot of reflecting for me. Like I've been doing a lot of thinking about what I've done in my 20s, what I did right, what I did wrong, just things that I wish that I did more of. And to be honest, overall, I'd have to say, I feel like I crushed it. Like, I think that my 20s were by no means perfect, but I think that they've culminated into me becoming the person that I am today. And for that, I'm very happy and thankful for. But at the same time, there are also a lot of things. Well, there are a few things. There are 5 things that, I think that I wish I did, or I wish I did more of throughout my 20s. So the very first thing that I wish that I did less of during my 20s was wasting less time on social media and just being on like the internet in general. Like, I obviously can't put a hard number on the amount of time that I spent online doing who knows what, like on Tumblr in the early 2010s and then up to Instagram now. But it was a lot of time. I'm sure it was a lot of time that, could have been, spent elsewhere. And I think that there were a lot of periods in my life where, I think especially periods of my life where things weren't going as well. Like I definitely was on social media more and that didn't really serve me. And so I remember I had a period that I actually, totally just kind of removed myself from Facebook and Instagram for a period of time in like 2014 to kind of just focus on myself. And that was amazing. And I think I wish I did more of that like throughout my 20s. So the second thing that I wish that I did more of in my 20s was traveling. So, I wasn't really raised with a mindset of traveling for fun and for leisure. That's just not something that was really happening in my home. Like if we were traveling, it was for family functions. If my parents were like traveling, it was just to go to Ghana. Like it was just to go to Ghana. That was it. So I actually didn't really start traveling until I was 24 and I'd taken like my first flight as an adult to Ghana. And then when I came back on my own from that flight, I realized like I need to be doing this all the time. Like this is amazing. Like traveling is amazing. And I think I just wish I'd started that even sooner, like incorporating that into my life, because now it's something that like I can't let go of. Like I love traveling, I love seeing new places and exploring, and I'm so happy that it's in my life now. But if it's something that you are looking to do and you want to do it, please don't hold yourself back from trying to explore and like see the world. And also, it doesn't have to be the whole world. You can start by, checking out areas around you that are accessible that maybe you've just never seen before and had some curiosity about. E3 is a big one because it is time-based, although you can start this whenever. And it's investing. I remember an ex-boyfriend of mine, really trying to push me to invest on an app called Acorns when I was about, must have been like 22-ish around, and I just didn't understand the concept. I think I put in $5 in the account, and then I like immediately canceled it because I lost like $1. I lost $1 or something, and I was just like, I don't understand this, and I'm just losing money, like putting my change into this account, and then I close the account, and then I just never really bothered to look into investing outside of like 401ks and stuff like that. I didn't look into investing until like I turned about 28, and this was like during the pandemic. And that's when I started like really trying to, understand more about investing and how it works and how I can make it work for me. And I am by no means any type of expert. I am not a personal finance guru. All I know is that investing in some good ETFs for the long term is a good way to go if you're a lazy investor who doesn't know that much. And that is me. And so that's the route I've chosen personally for myself. And so I would say invest. You can start small. It doesn't have to be a huge investment, and don't be discouraged if you see, your the money in your account like dwindling, or like you feel like you're losing like money that you've invested. It's a part of the process, especially if you're like long term. You can start doing your research. Don't invest more than you're actually willing to lose. And there are plenty of apps that actually help you get started. And so the app that I use is actually Robinhood, and it's been great for kind of just getting me introduced to investing and putting away some money every month. So I actually have it set up to auto invest on a couple different ETFs, so that every month it automatically, like that money automatically gets invested and we're good to go. So another tip, if you haven't started investing, invest today. 4 is a bit more controversial, and it kind of goes against how I was raised a little bit. And this doesn't apply for everybody, but for me personally, learning what I've learned now, I think that I would have invested a little bit less time in school and have been a little bit more strategic with how I approached school. Spending 4 years in school is a long time, especially if you're not sure about what you're doing and you don't know what you want. And for me, I had spent, a lot of like my first 2 years in school really focused on pre-med, thinking that this was what I was going to do, until it kind of crashed and burned for me in my junior year, and I realized this wasn't what I actually wanted to do. And then, because of that realization, because of that kind of crash and burn, where I actually flunked a whole semester, and I'll probably talk about that at a later point in another video. But because of that, I had to do a whole rework of what I was going to do school-wise. And, I ended up changing my majors, adding a minor, and ended up spending an additional, it took me 5 years to graduate. So instead of the 4, due to like those changes. And I think that if I could go back and change things, I think that maybe I would have taken I would have taken like at least like half a year to a year off from school before I started. And then when I did start school, actually just started a community college for sure. Yeah, just because of loans, obviously, like, having to take out those extra loans for that 4-year state school. It's more than, the loans you take out at a community college. And so I think I would definitely go the community school route before I entered a 4-year state school. That one is certain. I'm hoping that, with that year gap that I've given myself, prior to, starting school, I would have been able to reflect more on what I wanted to do and maybe approached it, school a bit better, like at that point. So I hope the messaging isn't that like going to get like your degree in undergrad is a bad idea. I just think it's wise to be more strategic about how you're going about it in terms of like the degree that you're planning to get, how you're thinking about utilizing it in the long term. I think that it could minimize it can help you be a bit more strategic about the classes that you take, and then possibly minimize the need to, stay an extra half a year at school, maybe minimize the need to go to grad school. Again, this really all depends on what you're going to school for and how you feel like it's going to play out for you in the long term. But this is just something that I've learned for myself in my career, because since I'm self-taught, in code, I realized that, that self-teaching myself that over the course of like the 2020 during the pandemic has been honestly like the most useful thing that I've done for my career in my whole life. In my whole life, and I didn't necessarily go to school for it. So these are just my 2 cents. This is purely my experience about things that I wish that I, did differently, knowing what I know now for my life. So this last one is so important. And it's basically, I wish I had left certain jobs sooner than I did. I spent 2 years working for a company that really, really negatively impacted my mental health for nearly the whole time that I worked at that job. And I stuck around for way longer than I should have. Honestly, I think by like the 9th month, I can even remember because it was month 9. Oh my God. So I even remember the 9th month into that job, I wanted to quit, but I didn't, because I kept telling myself, this is probably just as good as it gets, because that was my experience up until that point. Like I was young. I hadn't experienced like different types of workplaces up until then, but it was making me so miserable, and I thought, well, this is just how it is. And I just felt like if I quit this job and I went back home to my parents, I would have been a failure. But that's not true. And I'm so glad my parents gave me space to come back home so I can like quit and focus on getting myself back together, getting my mental health back together, and putting myself back out there in the job market, because it made me realize that like there are different working environments out there that aren't all toxic. I mean, I've been in my fair share of different toxic environments, but they're not all like that. Especially with my current one now, they're really not all like that. And this advice can apply to anything, like leaving relationships sooner, like anything that like doesn't like serve you, that you have tried to work at and try to be like conscious of. If it's not really serving you and it's really negatively affecting your mental health, you have to ask yourself, what are you getting out of this that is causing you to stick around? And is it worth it to stick around for how it's impacting you? And for that job, I'd realized at that point that the way it was impacting me so much was not worth me sticking around any longer. So that's another thing I wish I did. All right, so that's really all I have for you guys today. I really just wanted to talk about, some things that I wish I did in my 20s, or I wish I did sooner. And this has just come from me reflecting on everything, and hopefully this has been helpful. Hopefully, like if you are currently in your 20s, that, you kind of take this advice for what it is, and it's not gospel, it's just my experience and my life. And I'm really interested to hear what you guys, have to say. So let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below, and I'll be back with another video.